Oh, cinnamon toast crunch is good stuff. Actually, I have a traumatic story about uh, Rice Krispie treats cereal is basically Rice Krispie treats that are broken and put in a box. You eat them, and it's the best. And I was at my grandparents when I was a kid, and he was I grew up pretty poor actually, so my food would never get expensive. It was like Cheerios, basically. Uh, so my grandpa was, "Hey, you can have any cereal in the world you want," and I was so excited. I was Rice Krispie treats cereal, and he came home and he's like, "Oh, I couldn't find it. I just got Rice Krispies." I was so disappointed, and yeah, it was terrible because Rice Krispies are the worst. Rice Krispie treats are the best.
Wait, Rice Krispies? What are those?
You never heard of Rice Krispies?
Rice Krispies. I
Snap,
don't think
crackle,
I've had
pop.
Rice Krispies.
What? Snap, crackle, pop. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. I know what you're talking about. The
it's
sound
like,
effects got it for me.
yeah, there you go. It's like the original cereal, but
Okay.
they're gross. I don't know how they stayed around for all these years.
Yeah. I had to think. It's the worst cereal, cornflakes. I don't get how you could eat
Oh
a
yeah,
cornflake. Like,
yeah. You got to put a bunch of sugar on it, and then it's basically frost flakes. So you might as well just stick with that.
exactly. Someone messaged me and said, "In time for the cereal alpha."
Yes. Yeah, yes, yeah. Well, it's one of my passions. I am a little disappointed. I didn't quite finish my bowl, so it's gonna get a little soggy. But you know what? It's sacrifices that we make for the audience. It's absolutely. Hey, yeah, that's awesome. Hey, actually, before we kind of get started, could you tell me a little bit about what Cardinal is? I'm actually not super familiar. I've talked with you guys, but what is Cardinal House and what's kind of like your mission and stuff? Gotcha. Okay, very cool. Well, it's super great to be here with you guys and yeah, talk a little bit. I love chatting, so I'm always up for things like this. Sure, yeah, absolutely. So actually a software developer by trade is like what I went to school for and things like that. So I some companies with e-commerce stuff, and then actually in 2011 I started my own business, and it was Mobile Texperts was the name. We sent out mass text messages for businesses like Steak and Shake, Ghirardelli Chocolate. So a lot of the spam text messages you receive are a result of my hard work put in there. So you're very welcome for that contribution to the world. Um, and then I ran that business, grew it to about 11 employees. And then after about 10 years or 2020, I sold the business. So someone came in with an offer, and um, I wasn't super passionate about the business anymore, and was kind of want to free up more time and brain space. Yeah, I just accepted the offer to buy business, and then I was kind of just sitting on a chunk of money and wasn't really sure what to do with it. So the first thing I did was I put it all in a bunch of index funds in the stock market, and that was fine. It was doing its 6-7% return a year, ever. Then I kind of, as I was talking to people, it kind of seemed like, oh, there are creative ways of investing other than just sticking your money in index fund. So I started to get into real estate, and that was fun, but it was a lot of. And then I started getting into just like private business debt, and so I was like, when and I started doing some like medicinal marijuana companies. They can't get debt from banks because it's federally illegal here in the US, so they look for private investors. So I started doing that, and then one of my friends was talking to me about crypto, and Stratos was the first thing he talked about. And what kind of returns have been getting? And he's like, well, 20%. And I'm like, oh, well, that's decent. And he goes, month. And I was like, wait, you say 26 in a month? And I was like, oh no, that's no way that it works out that way. And he's like, well, just try it. Buy one node and then give it like 2 months, and we'll see how it goes. I bought one strong node, and lo and behold, this was back when it was, the price was more than dollars. But I bought my strong node, and lo and behold, yeah, 26% a month for a few months. I was like, holy cow, this is like actually working. So then I scaled to like 10 nodes. Um, and then I got into Olympus, and I got into Drip, and kind of was riding those for a little bit, and then eventually, as I just started getting into more projects, and I was like, "This is cool." Couldn't find anyone around me that really enjoyed talking. Like, none of my investment friends, they were like, I was kind of like a second class investor because I was looking at crypto, and none of my friends in real life, they're like, no, we're not interested in crypto. And my wife was kind of like, hey, quit talking to me about these and things like that. And so that kind of led me, like, you know what? I just want to show people what I'm doing and what's out there. I really had no goals or anything. I was like, I'm gonna put together a video. It's just gonna be my face screen, and I'm just gonna show exactly what I did and what I invested in. I'm not gonna hide anything. I'm gonna try to market it. I'm just gonna say exactly what I did, what I think, and started that. And then yeah, after a while, it kind of just resonated with people. I think it was actually the play to earn game. I think is where I started to see like my first connection points. Was getting like 1,000 or 1,500 subscribers for a while. I was like, wow, this is really resonating with people. So that's kind of in. And then since then, I've kind of just trying to figure out. I don't really to run the business again, so I'm kind of trying to figure out how to keep my content as like fun, but then also have some direction for it. So that's actually some kind of working out is like direction I want my channel to go, are my long term goal. Yeah, that's got started. Okay. Yeah, let me turn off my AirPods. I heard it too, but I hoping it was only on my end. But second, let me switch my. This I just turned off my. I think my AirPods have some issue. Probably because I've dropped them so many times.
Okay, I actually got a question for you. So you got into the space. Was there like a piece of advice anyone gave you that just stuck with you when you were getting into the space?
Um, no, not really. I think for YouTube, for content creation, the biggest piece of advice that I would like, what I feel holds most people back, is they feel like they need to make it perfect before they get started. And I would say it's better just to get stuff out there. Like, for example, like I still can't find a mic that I like. Like right now, this is just my iMac microphone. Like that's what I use for my video that I made today. Like I just can't find a mic I like, and so a lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't have the right mic. I don't have the right camera." I mean, I literally just do my iMac camera and I use my iMac microphone right now. So I would say just get content out there. Like people aren't looking for super polished. They're just wanting content, right? And that's probably one big thing that I would say.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I've heard that from a few people for sure. Um, what is some of the behind the scenes stuff you do as a content creator that people would never see?
Uh, Try? No, I'm just kidding. There's a lot. There is a lot of stress. I find Twitter is actually more stressful than YouTube. YouTube's not that bad because you're just putting out, a video, a few videos a week, and then people comment on them. But on Twitter is where people get really vicious, and so like I'm kind of a people pleaser, and so it's been a huge adjustment for me to have people that are like upset with me, and I've never really experienced pretty much in my whole life. I've never really experienced this, and even when I was smaller, everybody loved me. But then now that I'm getting bigger, there's a lot of people that are just angry with me for different things, and the markets are down, so then people are angry about that. So it was just like a huge adjustment of like trying to deal with that and just being okay with, hey, these people are mad at me, and what are you going to do? So that's a huge part of what I've had to adjust to, and what I think about it a lot when I'm off camera. Is I'm just thinking about, oh man, that person said this would be a great response to them, but you can't really respond to everybody, or else you'll spend all day doing that. So that's probably the main thing. I guess the other thing too is that it takes me a long time just to keep all my crypto stuff in check. Like I spend a lot of hours a day just, reading through. I'm in so many different projects. So I would say those are kind of two things and definitely people being angry at me was not something I was expecting, but it's just an inevitable part of what I'm doing. So yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, that's been super tough to kind of work through, because originally I was like, I'm not gonna take any payment for anything that I do. But then like one week I spent like 60 hours doing AMAs and looking through projects and putting out YouTube videos. And YouTube does not actually pay very well. I don't know if people realize this, but with if I put out 3 videos a week and get 10,000 views per video, so if I'm getting 30,000 views a week, that only ends up paying like maybe 1,500 a month, or maybe 2,000 a month. So it's like YouTube itself, the ads don't pay very well for the amount of work that you're putting in. So eventually I was kind of like, I'm spending so much time doing this and I'm not able to pursue, like, I have a ton of business ideas that I'm just not able to pursue because I'm busy doing content. So I decided I'm going to start charging just for my time. So I don't see it as like a paid endorsement because I never will say that I think a project's good if I don't think it's a good project. Um, so I know some people call that shilling, but I don't really see it as shilling. I see it as, hey, they're paying me for my time. I do my like I present a lot of projects out there and then but I'm pretty clear about, hey, here are my top 10. Here are the ones I really believe in. Here are the ones that I'm personally invested in. But yeah, it's been super hard to kind of find that balance and I feel like I'm in a fairly good groove now, but it was definitely tough at the beginning. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. The way I kind of structured it on my channel is the live AMAs that I do are like, I don't know if I like this yet. I'm going to talk to the team. And then the dedicated videos that I do are like, hey, these are the ones that I'm invested in, that I really believe in. And so that's kind of how I separate it on my channel. And then usually I tweet out things I'm just kind of thinking about or projects I'm just looking at. But yeah, it's definitely been a tough balance to strike.
Going off of that, what is your favorite part of YouTube? Like, so you said that there's a lot of business ideas you want to eventually get to. So what keeps you doing content creation instead of that?
Um, I think, well, most of the business ideas I have involve like having an audience. Like any business you start, especially like digital businesses, you need some kind of a following, I guess. So people try to build like their mailing list or things like that, and um, I don't know, YouTube is just a really great way to establish connections with people rather than doing an email list, which is what most businesses do, right? You don't really know, you don't see the people that you're interacting with, and you don't really know them, and you're just giving your email address. So I prefer YouTube because I just can, I don't know, I feel really connected with my audience, and I like being on camera. Um, I don't know. It's just something I really enjoy. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it. That was actually one thing when I started my channel. I was like, I'm never gonna do something I don't enjoy. So I don't edit my videos hardly at all, and like I outsource the thumbnails because I hate designing those. I have no artistic ability. So it's really just something I enjoy. But if I didn't enjoy it, I'd be out in a second.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, well, if you go back and look at some of my early videos, you can see the type of thumbnails that I designed. They were pretty terrible. Then I had a guy from India reach out to me, and he was like, "Hey, do you want me to do your thumbnails?" And I was like, "Well, what do you charge?" And he's like, "I'll charge you $10." I was like, "Okay, yeah." And then I pay him $30 now, so he's gotten a raise because he's done a really good job. But yeah, it's I'm thankful to not do that anymore.
But I think what's awesome also is people are like $10, like that's crazy. You're like, but $10 goes a long way where some of these people are from. So it's like it's not like you're completely you're not cheating anyone out of earning enough money to survive off of, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and it's not like these don't take like a ton of time for him. I
Yeah.
mean, I think he's pretty good at it too, and also too, like I do a ton of videos, and so it actually ends up
he actually asked me, he's like, "Hey, do you just wanna hire me full time?" Because keeping him busy, like, some days it'd be like, "Hey, I need 5 thumbnails for today," and he does, like, my Twitter, uh, Canvas thing and my YouTube. He does basically all my graphics now. So we've talked about I just hiring him full time, but, uh, he's a super big help. Yeah, I'm trying to really decide right now if so right now, you can be either a small fish in a big pond or you can be a big fish in a small pond, right? That's how kind of the saying goes. And so like right now, when it comes to like degen, DeFi, crypto, so if you niche way in, so like passive income, then you dive in deeper to crypto, you dive in deeper to DeFi, you dive in deeper to degen. And then I'm kind of like the big fish in that little tiny, tiny pond. But I feel like if I want to grow, I probably have to broaden out a little bit. So I'm trying to decide, do I want to stay super degen DeFi or do I want to broaden out to crypto in general? Do I want to broaden out to passive income in general? Because really, passive income is what I'm passionate about, and just crypto is a good source of that. So that's kind of why I ended up where I'm at. Um, so I'm trying to figure that out right now. If I want to stay focused on DeFi, crypto, or if I want to broaden out to passive income. But I would like to really help start to bridge people from the real world or the normal world into crypto. One complaint I get a lot from like when my parents, for example, watch my videos, they're like, "We didn't understand anything you talked about in that video. Like, we didn't understand. We don't know what a tomb fork is. We don't know what rebasing is. We don't know what Binance is." And so I'm thinking about either doing like a training course or broadening my channel a little bit just to help bridge that gap so that like my parents could watch it and still kind of understand it and then help move them over to the degen DeFi side of things. But I don't totally know what that's going to look like yet, so I'm kind of feeling it out for now. Yeah, that's absolutely true, and I think we talked about it before, but yeah, so I'm a Christian, and I believe that like God's in control, and He's kind of directing, and He has a purpose. Like the way my YouTube channel blew up, I was expecting like 1,000 subscribers in 6 months maybe, and I had like 40,000 subscribers in 3 months, and I was like, okay, this is obviously God's doing something here, and I don't exactly know what the ending is, but yeah, like you said, I'm just taking it kind of one day at a time and just, be diligent with what I have today, make the best video today that I can make, and then just kind of see where it leads.
That's awesome. Um, as someone asked, what's your biggest skill set in business and YouTube? I thought that was a good question.
My biggest skill set, probably something that like has always just happened in my head is like when I have a goal, the steps needed to accomplish that goal just like fall into place in my head. Like in real life, nobody will ever play board games with me because for some reason, like when we're playing any strategy board game, like as soon as I think about okay, the goal is this, it just floods into my head all the steps that need to be taken to make that happen. And so that's really been helpful in business because I just, basically can get a goal and then it I don't know, it's almost like inspiration. I don't know, that might be the best way. Like a musician is inspired. That's how I get sometimes, is I just get like, man, this would be a great way to make this successful. And then when I get those moments, I write it down, and then I have this big notebook of just like, hey, here are some great business ideas, and usually they work and make some money. So I don't know if that's really a skill set or if it's just I really don't know why that's how sometimes I lie in bed and can only think of like business ideas. And I can't sleep because of just business ideas are coming to mind. So it's a blessing and a curse sometimes, but it's just the way that I'm wired.
I can relate to you. I've never related to someone so hard. I was messaging Zach like a couple nights ago. It was like 1 in the morning, and I'm just typing out paragraphs of ideas I have. So I completely get what you
Yeah, it's crazy, and it drives my wife crazy. And again, that's one of the reasons I started the YouTube channel was just to like I get some of those ideas out, because it's painful holding them in. Like you got to tell somebody, and you got to get moving on some of these things. So
It's like you're so excited about it. You want people to share that excitement with you, is the way I
yeah,
look at it.
yep, absolutely, yep. So that's I think that's what served me the best, like when it came to running my business and stuff like that was I'm not a very good executor. Like I'm not very good at like doing the work to make it happen. I'm just good at kind of like seeing, hey, here's all the things that need to be done. And like I don't know, I've learned that like, yeah, you see the end goal and then you just take steps backwards from that end goal to the steps that you need to take today. So it really is for accomplishing any goal. You can just think about, okay, what's the end goal? Okay, what would need to happen for that to happen? And then you can work your way back until you just have this checklist of like, hey, here's 12 things that need to be done for me to reach this goal. And I'm not very good at the executing part of it. I am a little bit lazy. I would say that. Like I'm not a. Um, I'm a little bit lazy. Like I don't like to do a lot of work. But I'm really good at finding what those steps are to get to the goals that I want to accomplish. Well, I would give an encouragement right now that this is not a good time to for DeFi crypto YouTube channels. Just views are down. There's not a lot of people looking because everything's down right now. So what I'm kind of focusing more on education and maybe getting a little bit outside of crypto. So I don't know. That's kind of what I would recommend. You kind of just have to be in touch with your audience and kind of see what's working and what's not working. But I would just encourage any YouTuber in crypto right now to not be discouraged and think they're doing something wrong. But just it's just a tough time right now where there's not a lot of people looking into the space because everything's down so much. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Well, you can look at the market cap of crypto as a whole. Like that's kind of the main number I keep my eye on is like, hey, what's the total amount of money in crypto right now? And back in October, we were at like 2.9 trillion. and then now, we're at like 900 billion, and so we've lost $2 trillion in market cap. And so yeah, there's just not a lot of new people flooding into the space. So that's again why I've been thinking about, well, how can I reach right now? I think probably 90% of my viewers are people that are in the crypto space, right? There's not a lot of new people, and that's why my subscriber count has really slowed down. Again, I was getting 1,000 new subscribers a day for a while, and then now it's just really now I'm getting maybe 2,000 subscribers a month, and so yeah, really thinking about, okay, does my channel, do I need to? How can I reach new people and bring them in, rather than just kind of like refreshing content for the same people all the time? So yep, that's the advice I would give.
Yeah. What would you say your biggest success in the crypto space has been so far?
Biggest success. So yeah, when I originally got in, I put 70K into Strong, 70K into Olympus, and 5K into Drip. And that was when Drip was at like $12. And uh Strong obviously is way down now, and Olympus, my 70K is worth like 1,500 now. But Drip went from $12 and it was up to $200. And at the same time, as I put my YouTube videos out, got a lot of referrals from that, which Drip has a very robust referral system. So my 5K in Drip at one point was worth like 500K. And so that was definitely my biggest win. And it was actually kind of humbling because I really believed in Strong and I really believed in Olympus. And then Drip was kind of like, I don't know, this doesn't seem like it's going to last. And God, I think, keeps doing this to keep me humble. He's like, no, the things that you think are good are not going to work. And then these side things that you didn't really have your eyes on, those are going to be the ones that like keep you afloat. And that's kind of been a consistent theme where, if you diversify enough, you miss on a lot, but then you have a few that hit that kind of keep your portfolio in check. So I would say Drip has been my biggest win in the crypto space.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that was super helpful, and what that did was it gave me funds to really then get into everything else that I wanted to get into. So I kind of made, when I got in, I was like, I'm going to put in 150K and then not put in more, because I saw crypto all as just kind of very experimental. Most of my money is still in the stock market, unfortunately, and real estate. And so crypto was like this experiment that I was kind of trying. But then with Drip blowing up, it gave me extra funds where then I could really get into pretty much everything. Like I just for a while I was just putting 1 or 2K into every single project that I could find, and and that gave me a lot of content then for the channel because I was able to show people, hey, I put in 2K into this and it's done this. I put 2K into this and I lost it. I put 2K into this and it did this. So yeah, that's been super helpful in my YouTube journey also.
okay. Going off that, I actually had a question. So yesterday we hosted a research workshop in here. We talked about how to research a project, what you look for, and the fundamentals. What are some things you look for in projects before you would be like, yeah, I want to invest in this?
It's funny. Well, it depends on your risk profile.
Tolerance.
Yeah, it depends on your risk profile because I was talking with like Crypto Sensei and some guys yesterday, and somebody and these guys they have a lot of money, okay? And he was like, I'm gonna put 1K into this, and I'm like, oh, have you read their white paper? And he's like, I'd rather get rug pulled than read a white paper, or he said something to that extent. And so it's really, if it's different for each person, but like if I'm gonna put 1K into something, I don't necessarily do like a huge deep dive into it. It might just be, hey, this is kind of interesting. I'm gonna throw in $1,000 into it. Now, if I'm gonna put 10K into something, then I really look into it. My favorite thing to do is to talk to the team because usually I have questions that the white paper, the website don't answer. And we rely on teams to be very agile to like switch directions and pivot and all these things. And so I'm less interested where the project is now than I am is the team going to be able to pivot when they need to pivot. Because I know if you look at a lot of the projects that have failed over the last 3 months, a lot of the node projects, for example, yeah, their white papers looked great or so, but it was really were the teams able to pivot when they needed to pivot. So that's why I do so many AMAs is because and I also found too when I wasn't doing AMAs, I misunderstood what the team was trying to do. Like I would get details wrong or I'd get their vision wrong. And so now I just bring on the team and just like ask them the questions like, hey, what's your revenue stream? Why aren't you doxing? Do you have some kind of KYC? How can we be sure you're not going to rug pull us? Um, and we're learning as we go. I think the whole space is kind of learning as we go. Like when I first started in crypto, I didn't know that rug pulls were a thing. Like before Ring, it had never even occurred to me that that could happen. That you could put money into something and then the team just runs off with it. It blew my mind. Oh, yeah, that's a thing. And now we're just so used to it. So we're kind of learning as we go. But big thing I'm looking for right now as we're in the bear market is what is your revenue stream? That's the big thing because we cannot rely on new people coming in. There's not fresh capital coming in. And so for new projects starting up, I'm asking all of them, hey, where's your revenue going to come from? Are you going to fall apart if you can't get new investors to come in? And that's really what I'm keeping my eye on. Uh, I would say, diversify well, I mean, you have kind of the standard ones, which are actually they're not cliché. They are, like, legit, which is don't risk more than you can afford to lose. Like, if you wanna grow wealth the biggest hindrance to growing wealth is losing money. So if you're looking to grow wealth, then you need to have a majority of your funds in a place where you're not going to lose it. Now, unfortunately, there's in the world right now, there's not a lot of places where you won't lose money. With inflation up at 9%, even if you keep it in your savings account in the bank, you're still losing 9% a year. So that's not easier said than done at this point in our country, but you kind of need to have like a fund down at the bottom that it's in something that you feel confident you're not going to lose it. So like for me, I use Freeway is a pretty safe place. It gives 40% APR right now. So that's safer. And then that's probably the biggest thing is I would say don't put all your money into these, degen plays that I'm doing, these play to earn games that I'm doing an AMA for, where you have probably a 50% chance of doubling your money and a 50% chance of losing all your money in a lot of these degen crypto plays. So, that in some people's portfolios that those have a place, but in some people's portfolios, if you've been saving for 3 years and you have $1,000, that might not be the first place that you want to go. Um, and then other than that, so yeah, don't risk more than you can afford to lose and then diversify. I mean, that's what's really saved my portfolio is if I'd put all my eggs into Strong or put all of them into Olympus, I would be at zero now, pretty much. So that diversification has really been what's helped me stay afloat, especially during times like this. Yeah, yeah, and so, yeah, when I'm looking for long-term plays and you have to be really clear when you're going into investments. Are you looking for a short-term gain, or are you looking for a long-term gain? And so you need to be very clear in every project that you get into. So, like, a play-to-earn game, for example, you should not get into a play-to-earn game thinking this is gonna be a long-term investment. It's just not the right way to think about it. You should be thinking about it. It's a short-term investment. I'm going to get out my initial and then, try to ride, make a little bit of profit on top of it. For long-term plays, you're not necessarily checking the price very often because you're like, my bet on this is that in 5 years it's going to be 10 or 20x from where it is now. So yeah, there's a lot of dollar cost averaging on those projects. So what I've been looking for is like, what is combining traditional business with crypto, because I think that's where the biggest gains are going to be. So that's where the Constellation DAG network, they're really working with a lot of real businesses to provide like real business cases for crypto. Instead of just like during the bull market, we just found so many crypto projects that were just kind of tokenomic games. There wasn't really like they weren't actually ever doing anything. I mean, and this might make people angry, but there's not too many people here, so I'm okay saying it. But Drip, for example, Drip doesn't really at this point doesn't do anything, right? It's just tokenomic games, and there's a place for those in your portfolio. But if you're looking for long term, you got to find out, hey, what is solving a problem that the world has? And so the Constellation DAG network, there's a ton of projects on there that BioFi is one of my favorites right now. They're doing biometrics and combining biometrics with everyday life. There's Genico, which is on the Constellation network, and they're working on putting healthcare data on the blockchain. There's a ton of projects on the Constellation network, and actually, I have an AMA with like 12 different Constellation network projects. Pretty much all the real world use case projects that I find are building on the DAG, on the Constellation network. So DAG, which is the coin for the Constellation network, I think that's a good long term investment too, because as these projects with real world applications start getting built, if they're built on DAG, then that's where the gains are going to be. So yeah, I'm dollar cost averaging DAG every day. I'm dollar cost averaging LTX, which is the exchange on the Constellation network. BioFi. Um, I do like Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin, if everything else fails, Bitcoin will be the last man standing. So I do dollar cost average Bitcoin at these prices. So yeah, those are kind of my long term holds. Well, yeah, and to your point, so DAG, and that's the reason that these real world, because real world businesses can't have unknown gas fees and like per transaction gas fees. Like it just doesn't fit into their business models. So yeah, like DAG is partnered with the Department of Defense, for example, because the U.S. government wants to get some of their data on the blockchain, and they're using Constellation. So there's a lot of big things coming. So like if I had to guess 100x coin in the next 5 years, maybe 10 years. I would say DAG. It would be my biggest guess. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and one cool thing about the crypto space is that we are early enough. Everybody, if you're in here, you are early into crypto, okay? And when you're early into something, and sometimes we don't think this way, but when you're early into something, you have the opportunity to shape it how you want to see it. So like I'm a YouTuber, and so like if I want more general population to get into crypto, I have the opportunity to shape that, being early. It's not There's not really necessarily someone else who's going to do that for me. It's like, well, we're the pioneers, so if we want to see something happen, we can be the ones to make it happen. So, like, yeah, DAG getting real world use cases. Well, I want to help, champion that. So I got in touch with Ben from the Constellation Network, and I said, hey, I want you to put me in touch with every project on Constellation that you think has a real good use case. And I want to do AMAs with all of them. I want to get all those projects out there. I want to help market BioFi. BioFi, I've been in touch with them, and they say like we have a really hard time marketing. And I'm like, well, hey, let me help you with that. I have traditional marketing experience, and so yeah, that's what I've been trying to figure out. How do I, use traditional marketing experience to help people get into crypto? But all of you in the audience, you can be thinking about that. Like, hey, what do you want to see? And then since you're early, you can help, pioneer that, and you can help shape the space as you want to see it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because there's a lot of unique things going on. Like, we're used to financial systems that have been in place for, hundreds of years, like the stock market, for example. And so like, we have no say on the regulation in the stock market. We have no say in how it functions because it's been around so long, and uh, the older generations kind of in control of it, and the big players are already there and controlling it as they want. But crypto is a brand new thing, and so like we can help shape the regulation. We can help shape how it's used. We can help shape the culture. So we all can have influence on those things. And even if you feel like, well, I don't have a YouTube channel, that I can help shape it. I mean, we're in here. There's 16 of us or whatever in here, and my DMs are open. Like, you have access to um, really change things if there's something that you're really passionate about, and something you really want to see in the space. So it's pretty exciting, and it's going to be our generation's version of the internet, I think. And just like, yeah, the past generation got to kind of shape the internet as it's going forward. We get to kind of shape the blockchain, so it's kind of a exciting endeavor.
I was just waiting for you. I wanted to ask a question for Austin because I think you might have missed the segment about content creation or a little bit. You kind of touched up on this, but he asked, "What drives you above financially to continue creating content, or is it strictly because of monetary gains?" And he said, "Totally cool if it is." He's just curious.
Um, yeah, that's a great question. So I don't, yeah, so I'd say there's a lot of motivations. I don't think there's like one motivation. There's like a whole bunch that keep you going in a certain direction. So like one would certainly be my faith, that I just believe God has called me, particularly to help like young men navigate Specifically, like something that I'm really passionate about is young men are usually really love money and they want to get rich quick. And so that's a lot of times why they're coming into crypto is they're young men that want to get rich and that love money. And when Lambo is the question that is always asked. And so like one thing I feel God's called me to like help young men navigate that like money doesn't actually make you very happy. Like when you get like I sold my business for 7 figures, and then it was kind of like I woke up the next morning and I was like, what now? Like what do you I mean, this was the end. This was like what I was this is what all these, young guys, this is like their dream. I'm like this is not that great like of a dream. And so like helping young men specifically navigate through that and teaching them to love their wives and take care of their kids and have good work ethic and integrity and things like that. There is some financial motivation to it as well. Like there's a lot of good that you can do with money. I was able to help my dad retire because he was not going to be able to retire for another like 6 or 7 years. But I told him, hey, I'll give you a couple $1,000 a month, and can you retire sooner? And if it wasn't for crypto and some of the stuff that has gone on there, I wouldn't have been able to do that. One second, I'm getting a phone call. I don't know if you can hear that. Let me ignore it. It's actually the CEO of from BioFi, so that's kind of ironic. Yeah.
We
Well,
just
crazy. He's a Christian also, and so when I met him, we really connected on that level. And so then yeah, he started calling me just to like he's like, hey, can I just pray with you about our project and about your YouTube channel? And so he calls me about once a week, and we just kind of pray over BioFi and my channel and things like that. So it's pretty neat. And again, that's how I just am pretty confident that like God's doing things in this space, just the way that he's connected me with some people. So I think that's a big part of my motivation to keep going. Part of it too is like there's something in me that just likes to build. We kind of think of like, oh, when I retire, I'll sit around and watch movies all day or something like that. But when I sold my business, I literally woke up the next day and had nothing to do. And maybe I watched like 2 movies the next day, or I binged watched season 2 of Stranger Things or something like that. And then after that, it's like, man, I gotta like, I don't know. I'm built to build something or to work or do something, accomplish some goal. And so that's part of what keeps me going is just otherwise you wake up and it's like, why get out of bed if I don't have anything to do today? So kind of a combination of those things. I like want to influence the space. I want to influence young men in the space. I do want the finances for different goals, financial goals that I have, and also just I don't know, just want to build some, want to do something. So yeah, yeah. Um, I grew up in a church, and so that's like where I kind of learned about it. But I just part of my story, and maybe this will be helpful for people listening, but I was like pretty obsessed with money. I grew up very poor. Like my parents had 6 kids, and so like we were a family where when we went out to eat, it would be like you can't get a cheeseburger. We have cheese at home, and so like that's how I grew up. And I remember as a kid at Chuck E. Cheese, if you guys are familiar with that place, but we would Yeah, so we would have to ration out the tokens. Like my parents, they would buy like 50, 60 tokens and say, okay, each kid gets 10 tokens. And I remember just thinking, okay. And I remember thinking as like a 10-year-old kid, if I had unlimited tokens, I would be happy. I remember thinking that. And then just as I got older and just, got more things and I just realized how empty most things in life were, like even the things that, like I was gonna say a football star in high school, but it was class C. So I was a class C football star. So that's actually not a star at all. But um, even things like that I thought were like such a big deal, and I spent so much of my childhood focused on that. I realized, man, that's just it's empty. And then when you start thinking about, man, when you die, all those things are going to matter. Like no one's going to remember who the class C football champion was in 2006, which is when I graduated. And so then just thinking through some of that stuff, it just led me back to kind of what I learned as a child, which was you're gonna die someday. You're going to stand before the Lord. And like Jesus says, don't store up treasure here on earth where moth and rust destroy, where thieves break in and steal. Store up treasure in heaven where moth and rust cannot destroy, where thieves do not break in and steal. And it's just really gotten me to like zoom out on my life and say, hey, what's going to affect eternity? Um, as we get older, our perspective gets longer term. Like my kids, I have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old, and they're focused on like the next day, right? About as far out as they can see. As we get older, we start to look out, what's going to happen in 10 years, 20 years. But true wisdom is when you look out like 10,000 years. What can I do today that's going to be beneficial in 10,000 years? That's true wisdom. So that's kind of what just got me devoted to the Bible, was just kind of my experience in life. And then as I got to know Jesus better and just the love that he has for me, despite all my failings, like he knows all my failings, he knows all the junk that's in my heart and things like that, but he still loved me and died for me. Um, I don't know. That just it's been really motivating for me, and I just wants me to. Uh, it makes me want to kind of shine that light to other people the best that I can.
Um, I love what you're saying. I think it's awesome how outspoken you are about your character. I love the confidence you have in who you are, and you're not afraid to speak about what you believe in. It's really encouraging. I'm a Christian, and it's hard. It's hard to speak about stuff and to not or to separate business and your faith because you don't want like you want to be able to affect people through your faith, but you also don't want to like force it on people. A lot of people look at you negatively if they think you're forcing it on them. So I
Yep.
like the way you're doing it though. You're doing a great job. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. And one thing that's helped me is like I found as Christians, what we often do is like we switch from normal mode into spiritual mode. And people like recognize, oh, he's switching into like we say like, oh, I'm going to present the gospel or something like that. Instead of like one of my goals is like just for the Bible and God and His Word to just be such a part of like who I am on a daily basis, where it's like I don't have to switch back and forth between spiritual mode and normal mode, but it's just like it's just flowing out of everything that I do and everything that I say. Um, but yeah, it has been challenging, and I will say it's really challenging as you're like building your career when you do feel like, oh, me being super open about my faith is gonna hurt, like it's gonna hurt the way these people think about me and those types of things. I have the advantage that like I feel like I've succeeded at the things in life I want to succeed at, and so like I don't really care that much anymore, like about I don't know. I just don't really care that much about like if I'm going to keep moving forward. Um, but yeah, I remember at times like being around really influential people and being really afraid, like, oh man, if I do talk about Jesus, what are they going to think about me? So I definitely can relate to that.
Yeah, you took all the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, and I found people really gravitate towards authenticity. So I used to like kind of more, flavor what I said I'd kind of say things that people would want to hear to try and draw them in. And I found actually it's the opposite. Like you kind of repel people when you're trying to flavor what you say. If you just kind of say like you're just true to yourself and authentic to who you are, I think that's what people are really looking for. That's what really connects you to people. Um, and so it's actually kind of it's ironic how sometimes it does the opposite of what I thought it would do. Like I thought, oh, talking about Jesus will repel people from me, but when I like, hey, this is a part of my life, and it's actually drawn people to me. Yes. Oh, so many. Where do I begin? So I guess yeah, the main thing, kind of what we were just talking about, but the main thing I would say is, um, really be thinking about. I'd like everyone here just to think for a moment about like eternity, or think about in 10,000 years, or think about when you're gonna die. I know that's not always pleasant, but like, don't have your life just matter while you're here. We're here for so short. Like I'm 34 now, and um, like time has just flown by. And as you get older, the older you get, the faster life seems to go. Like a year just goes by so much faster. And so really just focus on, hey, what can I do that's going to affect after I die? Is the first thing that I would say. Um, Second thing I would say is go check out my channel. So I just put out a video, my journey to 10K a day in passive income. So if you haven't watched that yet, please go watch and like. And if anybody wants to just talk more, my Discord is open. So you have it here. Feel free to DM me. I think sometimes people feel like they're bothering me, which uh, I it might take me a while to get back to you, to be fair. But I'd love to just talk with you, even if you just need like encouragement, or you just need, hey, I have more questions about life. Happy to talk through any of those things. I have a lot of thoughts about a lot of things. So, but yeah, thanks for inviting me. I love just chatting.
Last thing, guys. I have one last thing. Um, if you guys want to hear us talking some more, come to the Cardinal House chess tournament. James will be talking with, or will be commentating with us as well as Austin Clark. So stop by. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I've been brushing up on my chess knowledge. Knight X4 to Queen. I'll have to keep learning. I don't really know that much. Yes, I know that. I know that much. I know the knight can do an L, and so I can help with that. I know Queen's Gambit. I'm going to be using
Okay.
that a lot. Probably every starting match, I'll say, "Oh, the Queen's Gambit is coming out." But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. So I love goofing around. Thank you. Appreciate it, guys, and appreciate all you in the audience. Again, we couldn't. I always say we couldn't do AMAs like this unless people came to listen. So you guys are actually the important part here. So thank you guys for listening, and yeah, thanks Zach and JoJo for bringing me on. All right, take